Hey guys, so I did my presentation on UNEP, which is the United Nations Environment Program. So these are a couple pictures from a climate change walk I did last October. Climate change walks are really important because they show the government that as a society, we are willing to come together to protest a problem that we think is very important, and this puts pressure on the government to make a change. It also shows UNEP that we are willing to support them and the actions that they take in trying to change climate change. Because ultimately, climate change affects everybody. Doesn't matter how much money you have, doesn't matter where you live, it'll affect every single person. The United Nations Environment Program works on sustaining development for 7 different thematic areas. One is climate change, 2 is disasters and conflicts, ecosystem management, environmental governance, chemicals and waste, resource efficiency, and environment under review. Their mission is to organize environmental activities and assist developing countries in creating sustainable resources to decrease their carbon emission. Yes, it is known that developed countries are the ones who are contributing most to pollution, and they need to make a huge change in the way they do activities and in capitalism as well. But it's also important to start from the bottom with developing countries and get them to where developed countries are financially and economically, but do this through natural resources. So in the future, when they are at that level, they are not contributing to carbon emissions as much as developed countries are doing now. They also aid countries in creating environmentally safe practices and policies regarding carbon emission, greenhouse gases, and pollution. UNEP has also formulated treaties and policies on issues such as international trade of harmful gases, air pollution, which comes from helicopters, private jets, airplanes, business traveling, etc., and contamination of international waters, which comes from oil rigs, oil spillings, and cargo ships dumping harmful toxic waste into the oceans. Their involvement in civil society is by raising awareness through organizing rallies, which I'm sure most of us have been to some sort of rally, distributing brochures and CDs explaining the impact of climate change so people can be educated, creating workshops on public awareness, providing learning programs such as e-learning, which for people who cannot physically go and learn, or they have a prior commitment and need to learn from home, individual/national training at their network center. They provide educational spaces such as Joint Research Program and the EANET Research Fellowship Program for students interested in learning about climate change after grad school or college, etc. So I put 2 pictures on the slide. There is no Planet B. UNEP strives to get this message out to the people that there is no plan B for Earth. We need to focus on the Earth that we have right now. We should have been focusing on it 10 years ago. But right now, everyone needs to come together and do as much as they can to lower carbon emission rates so we don't lose Earth and we continue to have a successful future. And then eco, not ego, which I think ties into how people value capitalism and money over the earth. So they think having money is more important than having a healthy earth, and they just don't understand that these two tie hand in hand. Earth is always going to be more important because at the end, doesn't matter how much money you have, the earth will affect everyone just the same. Some achievements that UNEP has had is in 2014, they reduced air travel emissions by 7%, and their business travel decreased from 15% to 6% compared to 2013. Business traveling counts for twice the emissions as economy flights. Therefore, reducing their carbon footprint is extremely essential. The Climorn Project has been conducting research in Burkina Faso, Kenya to observe how early warning systems can be more effective. The early warning system can be helpful in warning households about climate disasters early on so they can prepare.
Mimi naitwa Florida Ere, naishi hapa Kakwe, Turkana. Mimi naishi peke yangu na watoto 6. Kama si tu ukulima ni ngumu sana. Turkana kuna majanga mengi ambayo huwa inakumba. Kwa wakati wa kiangazi pia inakuanga ni maisha ngumu sana. Kwa sababu sasa huwezi panda chochote maana hakuna maji. Sasa ikiwoshwa mimea hiyo yote, hao watoto hakuna namna nyingine mimi naweza kuwalea. Wanabaki tu hivyo. Majanga ambayo huwa ina affect watu wote. Uwe mkulima, uwe mfugaji, uwe unafanya kazi, huwa inaadhiri. Lakini vile nimezaliwa haikuwa hivi vile jinsi saa hizi vile iko. Wanaishi walikuwa wanatumia tutaweza sema waganga. Wanawaambia miezi kadhaa zijazo kutakuwa na janga la njaa, ama miezi zijazo kutakuwa na mafuriko na mvua kubwa. Mara wanakemea iende, hata ikikuja iwezi kuja na makali. Siku hizi tunasikia habari kama sasa hii ya hali ya anga, chief atatutangazia. Kama serikali haiwezi kuleta habari kwa chief, kweli hakuna kazi inafanyika ile nzuri, kwa sababu huwezi pata habari. Lakini kuna watu hawapati.
Early warning is a human right. It is the right to information. When people get information that there is an impending disaster, they are able to put pressure on political leaders to demand action. Africa is still very rural. A majority of our people live in villages. The good news is that mobile phone penetration in Africa is increasing at a very high rate. And the literacy rates are very much improved today than they were 30 years ago. If we develop a single interface for disseminating early warning for various hazards using mobile phones, I think we will be able to change the way we warn our people about impending disasters.
In recent years, UNEP has been working on a project called ClimWarn, funded by the federal government of Germany and working with partners in 3 countries, Burkina Faso, Ghana and Kenya. There are many early warning systems, but none of them actually target vulnerable groups. One of the characteristics of ClimWarn is that it worked at the level of communities. It was possible to really target vulnerable groups to see how they were equipped to respond to hazards across the board. In this way, it was possible to get a much greater diversity of response and to build that in to actually generate an effective multi-hazard early warning system.
The ClimWarn prototype is a web-based multi-hazard early warning system that is available online, but it can work on different platforms, even on mobile phones. The prototype is based on a number of interlinked modules. One module monitors weather hazards. Another module describes vulnerability, which is the ability of the communities in particular areas to respond to these hazards. Now, these two combined form the risk assessment relative for each of the administrative areas and towns. So it links all these to a communication module which issues warnings for extreme situations through SMS as well as email to anyone who should receive the information for a particular area. And that can be farmers, pastoralists, church leaders, disaster management professionals, etc., etc. We worked on the prototype to give an example of how a system like this can function, making use of available data and available technology. There are of course many other risks and hazards that can be built in, that can be pulled into the system. So a similar approach is possible in other countries.
Mimi nategemea tu hali ya anga. Ikikuwa mbaya siwezi panda chochote. Ikikuwa mzuri ndio ninapanda chochote. Hiyo shamba ndio tegemeo ya hawa watoto. Lazima nipate hiyo habari iko kwa serikali. Kama serikali ingeongeza tena mikakati ingine ya kupeana hiyo habari, ingekuwa zaidi, kwa sababu kuna watu hawajui kusoma. Labda kuna watu hata hawana network, hawajui hiyo habari. Unaweza pata kwa nyimbo, unaweza pata inaitwa kwa mithali, na sasa kuna redio pia. Watu wangepata hiyo habari kwa urahisi, alafu ndio wajisaidie nayo.
So 3 programs that have come from UNEP are RED++, which aims to incentivize developing countries to reduce emissions from deforestation and forest degradation, conserve forest carbon, sustainably manage forests, and enhance forest carbon stocks. The second one is Climate and Clean Air Coalition, which is a voluntary partnership of governments, intergovernmental organizations, businesses, scientific institutions, and civil society organizations committed to improving air quality and protecting the climate through actions to reduce short-lived climate pollutants. The third one is Climate Technology Center and Network, which promotes the accelerated transfer of environmentally sound technologies for low carbon and climate resilient development at the request of developing countries. And this is my works cited. Thanks, guys.